You can feel it, right? There's this direction or a pull, maybe even momentum towards something that might be, on one hand, really exciting, and on the other hand, you might be not fully trusting. Because of that, you might start and stop, or stop right before you're about to begin something. And this is exactly what Saturn is all about, building not just discipline and structure, but capacity for trusting ourselves when we move toward a new direction. As Saturn is moving into this Cazimi with the sun in the sign of Aries for the first time in 36 years, we're going to get a beautiful opportunity to purify this instinct, this desire to act. And instead of just forcing it or pushing through, choosing what we are willing to be responsible for. We're going to explore this today and how you can best use this energy to align with what is being asked of us, what is being invited to us through the sky. If you've been here, then you know that Saturn is. I love Saturn, and I hate to say I have favorites, but I do think Saturn is probably my favorite planet. I love astrology because, and all archetypal language, because it gives us an opportunity to recognize that different times call for different archetypes, right? So, what is the archetype of Saturn? Saturn's often known as the taskmaster. He's father time. He rules the aging process, the death process. He is about, a lot of people associate him to, hard lessons and discipline and boundaries and structure, limitations, right? He gives us wisdom through pain. And Saturn is very much a 3D reality planet, right? So what's interesting about what's happening in the sky right now is that we had this Mars, we had the Saturn Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees of Aries, right? In on February 20th. And since then, they've been coexisting in the sign, and they will until 2028. So what this means is that every planet that moves into Aries has to go through Neptune, and then has to go through Saturn. So every planet that moves through Aries gets dissolved first and then meets with Saturn. And Saturn says, build this from alignment. When we first go through a dissolution, that asks for a sense of transcendence. So when things are meeting up with Neptune, it's like dreamy and we're dissolving old things. And then when Saturn comes, it's asking for a different energy. And the energy of Saturn is not transcendence, it does not work. When you are dealing with Saturnian energies, transcendence is avoidance. I actually have been doing videos on desire and taking action and why we don't move toward what we want, and also how to distinguish between desire and fantasy. And I've been doing that. I'll have the links for those down below if you haven't seen them already. They're short, but they're really important because I've been looking at the sky and seeing that we're moving towards this thing, towards this energy. And I am really passionate about not just commenting on what's happening, but also being able to guide you guys. So when I have the energy available between clients and group programs, I love offering that here on YouTube as well. Obviously, it's a lot deeper in my group programs and my one-on-ones, but I do the best I can here on YouTube as well. We're being asked a few things with all this Aries energy and Saturn, right? And this Cazimi, where Saturn meets the sun and is purified by the rays of the sun. So it's almost like a reset of our Saturnian things in our lives through an Aries lens. And the next time that Saturn's going to meet with the sun in Aries is going to be in 30 years. So it is a big reset in that way. So with Aries, it's like, what am I beginning? Right? Saturn is, what reality must I accept? And the Cazimi reset is, what am I willing to commit to over time? Right? Aries is this instinctual impulse to act, to move, to do something. And it's very authentic energy that's also coming through right now. Moving from the center of your being, as we'll see with the Sabian symbol, moving with energy, right? But Saturn is so different. Saturn is our reality check. One of the most common aspects that we talk about Saturn with is that he actually devoured his own children. Yes, because he overthrew his father, Uranus, and he was terrified of the same thing happening to him. Fortunately for Jupiter, his mom kind of snuck him away, and Saturn didn't get a chance to eat him. And you know what happened? Jupiter overthrew Saturn. The very thing that he was trying to make sure it didn't happen, that he was trying to control, the outcome he was trying to control, happened anyway. This is just a reminder that our fear of the future is destroying the present. And in the Greek myth, when he was overthrown, he was sent to prison. He was imprisoned, I should say. This is the sadness, the despair that we feel when our goals and our dreams don't come to fruition, or they come to fruition. This is another very common thing with Saturn, because Saturn can be a very big tyrant. We can experience him as a tyrant. And so people who have that, they work really hard. They have a lot of discipline and structure, and they can, in the worldly realm, they can get places. But there's a cost. Very deep psychological cost to that. Rather than seeing him as a tyrant, we can see him as a mentor, a guide that helps us stay in alignment with our reality, with our hopes and our dreams. So psychologically, Saturn is that part of us that shuts things down that want to emerge within us before they can fully form. Saturn has a lot to do with agriculture, and this is why Saturnian people can have a lot of patience, which is the opposite of Aries people, right? Aries energy is fast. It doesn't have time. But Saturn says there's a time for everything. You can't plant seeds and push them to grow. You can't force them to grow. You have to wait. You can tend to their conditions, to the causes and conditions of their growth. But at some point, you just have to wait. This is the natural cycle of time. Saturn's probably the planet that has the biggest psychological hold on us, followed by Pluto. And it makes us sad. It makes us feel like there is no point, right? And so we think of Saturn as being very somber, but then he also rules the golden ages, the golden years. He ruled the golden ages, and he rules the golden years in our human lives. So how do we navigate moving from him being rigid and forcing us into like, this is how it must be done, and you just need more discipline, and you're just not working hard enough, into this mentor that says, yeah, you've got some limitations in your life, and until you face them and stop trying to transcend them, you're not really going to get anywhere. Saturn teaches us to stop negotiating with our reality. The thing is here is, how do we do that without losing hope, without losing a sense of possibility? A lot of us think limitations are inherently bad, but what does limitation breed? Innovation, art, right? When there are constraints, we have to get creative. And so if you're in a position right now in your life where you're like, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, I don't have the relationship, let those limitations fuel you into innovating. Okay, well, then what else can I do to meet my needs? I'm doing this group program called Creative Rewilding, and it's a 5-week live cohort. It's going to be amazing. I have a wait list down below. It gives you more information. The thing I love about it is that we are going to create something. So, I'm going to guide us through what we can create over the length of 5 weeks. We are going to create something. We're going to stay with expression long enough to forge something from it, right? And also, the deeper transformation here is, even whether or not you continue doing this thing forever and you're like, wow, I really love this, or you have this offer and you offer it and it's amazing, or if you're like, oh, this is amazing and I'm not sure if this is what I want to continue doing, the deeper transformation of that program is to be willing to stay with expression long enough so that something comes from it. Accepting limitations, working with them somatically. We're starting April 18th. The enrollment's not started, but if you get on the wait list, you get a bunch of perks, including a exclusive price. When we align with reality and stop avoiding it, Saturn's gifts are longevity, right? Sustainable action, tons of harvest. I want to read from the Sabian symbol. This is happening at 4 degrees. This Cazimi is happening on March 25th at 4 degrees of Aries. We round up for the Sabian symbol. So this is a triangle with wings. The theme is enthusiasm. This symbol speaks to the ability of an individual to come through his experiences spiritually and psychologically intact, as long as he remains true to self or acts purely from the center of his being. That's what I was saying. And that's what my video, The Desire Trap, is trying to help you distinguish between desire and fantasy, true desire and fantasy. An unusual opportunity or exciting challenge may present itself today, and things may come in threes. On the positive end, this can represent high vision, a positive outlook on life, or a tendency to see life in terms of possibilities than actualities. Negative, disassociation or desire to escape from the practical realities of life through fantasy, which is what I was just talking about with my video, because that's a very sneaky thing that happens here. So, as we can see, this Sabian symbol is very much about possibilities, ambition, higher vision, and the sun in Aries at that degree is going to definitely make us feel that. Saturn there, fallen, right? Saturn is debilitated here in Aries. Saturn fallen is going to be the thing that is like, oh, just don't even start. That's that feeling of that, like, but it goes deeper than that. It's not Saturn saying this isn't right or this isn't wrong. This is wrong. Saturn is not here to kill our desires. He's here to just show us which ones can actually survive. I have a Mars Jupiter conjunction in Leo, and it is opposing in my first house, opposing Saturn in Aquarius, my seventh. So whenever I think about Saturn and inviting him into my life, it's because I've had to have so many direct experiences with Saturn outside of myself, through limitations of the body, through mental illness, through physical illness and ailments for a very long time, through abusive, dominating partners. Limitation was really, it was like, why does this keep happening to me? And my Mars Jupiter was just like, I'm just trying to do good in the world and I want to keep taking action with integrity. Why is this not working? And it was because I was not willing to take responsibility in the deepest sense, not from a tyrannical aspect of Saturn, of, oh, get a good job and, wake up early and do these things, but to really look at my reality and stop negotiating with it and see what I could do within that. I have a question here for you with this Saturn Cazimi in Aries. And it is, where are you still stopping yourself before you begin? And what are you willing to commit to long enough to see who you become through it? This isn't just about this desire. This isn't just about this goal. That's why it feels big. I think that on the other side of whatever you're feeling right now is something that is going to fundamentally change your identity. And that is the real fear, right? Who will I become through this? Never mind. That's what the system says, right? You may not think that, but your body is like, And so we have to learn to work within the confines of Saturn and build structures that our bodies can actually uphold. That's the real goal here. This is why I do somatics. This is why I like bringing the nervous system into symbolic and archetypal energies, because they're so powerful. And yet there's just like one thing that I often find I notice is that in the spiritual world, we just do a lot of Neptune things. We do a lot of transcend possibilities, Jupiter, all this stuff. And we push Saturn out into, the edges and just say, ugh, Saturn. But he's what makes it all possible in our 3D reality. Thanks so much for being here. That's all I've got on this Saturn Cazimi and Aries. I'll see you next time.